Okay, folks, uh, are you ready to get existential?
I hope so.
I think so.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be looking at French existentialism, with a focus on
Right.
Sartre, Camus, and Beauvoir.
Big names.
Yeah, big names.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, three of the most famous existentialist thinkers,
Right.
and we're going to be looking at their works: Nausea,
A
uh,
stranger.
The Stranger, and the Second Sex.
Yeah. And those are, I mean, you really can't talk about existentialism without talking about at least those three thinkers.
Right, and those three works, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, how are we going to make this fun?
Well, it's always a challenge to
Right.
to make philosophy
Right.
fun and accessible.
Right.
But you know what? I think we can do it.
Okay.
I think we can do it. I think we can find a way to make it really interesting.
Let's do it.
And hopefully, help people
Yeah.
understand what existentialism is about
All right.
in a way that's not.
So what is it about?
Well, that's a big question, but in a nutshell, I would say that existentialism is really all about freedom, responsibility,
Okay.
and the search for meaning in a world that often seems meaningless or absurd.
Okay. So we're responsible for creating our own meaning.
Yeah.
Like,
Awesome.
if I'm understanding right.
Exactly. Yeah, it's this idea that there's no inherent meaning
Okay.
out there in the universe.
Right.
There's no God, there's no
Okay.
grand plan or blueprint that we're supposed to follow.
Oh.
So we're kind of thrown into this world and we
Yeah.
have to figure out what it all means.
Okay. So that's kind of bleak, isn't it?
Well, it can seem that way at first,
Yeah.
but the existentialists would say that this lack of inherent meaning is actually what makes us free.
Okay. How so?
Because if there's no predetermined path, then we get to choose our own path. We get to create our own values, our own purpose,
Yeah.
our own meaning.
That's pretty empowering, isn't it?
It is. It's very empowering, but it's also a lot of responsibility.
Right. Because you can't blame anybody else.
Exactly. You can't blame God. You can't blame society.
Right.
You can't blame your parents.
It's all on you.
It's all on you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's dive into some of these texts that we were
Yeah.
talking about before, and I think that'll help us to kind of
Yeah,
understand some of these concepts a little bit better.
for sure. For sure.
So Nausea, right?
Yeah.
Sartre's Nausea.
Yeah.
When I first read that, I thought this was about like, some bad shellfish or something.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people think that.
But it's not about that at all, is it?
It's not about that at all. No.
Yeah.
It's about this really profound sense of alienation and absurdity
Okay.
that Sartre's protagonist, Antoine Racontin, experiences.
Okay.
And he describes it as this feeling of nausea, right? Like this kind of
Yeah.
overwhelming sickness
Right.
that comes from confronting the raw existence of the world.
Okay. I think I've felt that
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever like looked at your hand
Yeah.
and just thought like, wow, that is so weird.
Yeah.
What is this thing?
It's like suddenly you see the world as if for the first time, and
Yeah.
it's just this strange collection of objects.
Right.
You're like, what is this all about?
Yeah. And there's no answer.
Yeah. And that's what Sartre's getting at, right?
Yeah.
This feeling of nausea is this confrontation with the void,
The void.
with the lack of inherent meaning.
Oh, wow.
And for Raquentin,
Yeah.
it's this really disturbing and unsettling experience,
Okay.
but it's also what ultimately leads him to a kind of freedom.
Oh, okay. How so?
Because once he realizes that there's no inherent meaning, he also realizes that he's free to create his own meaning.
Okay.
He's free to choose his own values, his own purpose.
So it's kind of like a
It's a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
Like on the one hand, it's terrifying to realize that there's no meaning out there.
right.
But on the other hand, it's also liberating because it means that you're not bound by any pre-existing rules or expectations.
Okay. So that's Nausea.
That's nausea. Yeah.
Let's shift gears a little bit
Okay.
and talk about Camus
Yeah.
and The Stranger.
The Stranger, absolutely.
Now, this is a book about a guy named Mersault
Right.
who kind of just floats through life, right?
Yeah, he's very detached, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's very detached.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to really care about much of anything.
Right. He doesn't really show much emotion.
No.
He doesn't seem to care about societal norms or expectations. He
Yeah.
just kind of does his own thing.
Right. And then he does this like really crazy thing.
Yeah, he commits a murder.
Yeah, he just like,
And even that, he doesn't seem to have
Yeah.
much of an emotional response to.
yeah, he's like, whatever.
Yeah, it's really strange.
It's really strange.
Yeah.
So what's,
It's a very unsettling book.
yeah. What's going on here?
Right. Well, I think Camus is trying to
Yeah.
explore this concept of the absurd that we were talking about earlier. This idea that the universe is fundamentally indifferent to our human concerns.
Okay.
Morsalt's actions, no matter how shocking they are,
Right.
don't seem to trigger any kind of cosmic judgment
Right.
or consequence.
It's like the universe just doesn't care.
Exactly. It's like the universe just doesn't care.
Yeah.
And Camus seems to be saying that in a world that's absurd.
Oh.
The only way to live authentically is to embrace that absurdity.
To embrace the absurdity.
Yeah, to kind of rebel against the meaninglessness by creating your own meaning.
Okay, I like that. I like that. Okay.
It's a powerful message.
Let's talk about Simone de Beauvoir
Yes.
and her book, The Second Sex.
Absolutely.
This is a really important book.
Yeah, this is a landmark work of feminist philosophy.
Yes.
And Beauvoir, she takes these existentialist ideas
Right.
about freedom, responsibility, the absurd,
Okay.
and she applies them to the situation of women
Right.
in a patriarchal society.
Okay. And what does she
Yeah.
what does she find?
Well, she finds that women are often defined by their relationship to men
Okay.
as the other, as you mentioned, rather
Yeah.
than as individuals in their own right.
Right.
And she argues that this otherness
Yeah.
limits women's freedom. It prevents them from fully realizing their potential.
Okay. So she's saying that like
Yeah,
society kind of puts women in a box.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And tells them what they can and can't do,
Right.
what they should and shouldn't be.
And
And that's a form of oppression
Yeah.
that limits their existential freedom.
Okay. So how do we break out of that box?
Well, Beauvoir's answer is that women need to become subjects of their own lives.
Okay. What does that mean?
It means that they need to reject the roles and expectations
Right.
that society imposes on them,
Okay.
and they need to create their own values, their own purpose, their own meaning.
Okay. And how do we do that?
Well, it's not easy.
No.
It's a process of self-discovery. It's a process of challenging the status quo. It's a process of demanding equality and respect.
I mean, it sounds like
It's a struggle,
it's a struggle. Yeah.
but it's a struggle that's worth having.
Right. Because the payoff is
The payoff is freedom.
freedom. Yeah.
It's the freedom to be yourself,
To be yourself.
live an authentic life.
Wow. So okay. So we've covered a lot today.
We've gone through
Yeah.
a lot of big ideas.
A lot of big ideas.
Freedom, responsibility, the absurd,
Yeah.
existential nausea, the other.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot to wrap your head around.
It's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
But I think that's the beauty of existentialism, right?
Okay.
It's not about giving you easy answers.
Yeah.
It's about asking you hard questions.
Yeah.
It's about making you think about your life,
Right.
about your choices,
Your freedom.
about your freedom,
Right,
your
right.
responsibility.
It's all connected.
It's all connected, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think
So-
I think we've done a pretty good job
I think so too.
of unpacking some of that today.
I hope so.
So I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Okay, I like it.
And this is a question that I think we should all be asking ourselves.
Okay.
If, like Sartre said, existence precedes essence,
Mm.
meaning that we create our own essence through our choices and our actions,
Yeah.
then what kind of essence are you creating?
That's a great question to end on.
Yeah.
It really is. It's something for all of us to think about.
Right.
I mean, what kind of life do you want to live?
Yeah.
What kind of person do you want to be?
Yeah.
What kind of mark do you want to leave on the world?
Right. What kind of meaning are you going to create for yourself?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that's something to think about, right?
It is. It is.
Yeah. So until next time, keep thinking, keep questioning, keep choosing, and keep creating
Keep creating your own meaning
your own meaning
in this absurd world.
in this absurd world.
Yeah.
See you next time.
All right. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.